Why, hello there! Yeah, this is, just to kind of scale things, carefully so, of course, this might be the biggest haul I've ever scored. You know, just saying. Wow. Hey there guys, BlackCross here, and welcome to my collect video game series. This is normally the video where I collect video games and showcase my recent pickups and stuff, and all the games that you're gonna see right now are technically games that I got in one day. I know a lot of you got some questions, most noticeably, how the hell do you have the money to spend for this shit? And the answer is technically tax returns. So, got my taxes in. I didn't spend all of it, mind you, but I figured, you know what, I don't really have anything majorly planned for my taxes, so I was like, let's just plan some kind of event. And this was kind of like the biggest event that I've ever planned in my head, you know. And when I say this is big, this is like, I want to say 100 miles big. So, for those that don't know, occasionally I'll look online and see about any particular different type of game stores that might be located within the state of Tennessee, which is where I live. My hometown doesn't really have anything, so it's like every once in a while we do plan a trip to go to different parts of Tennessee in order to find different game shops. And so far they've been very successful. Well, this time I decided to go a little bit bigger. Actually a lot bigger. So basically I decided to look online to see about other game stores that I might have never heard of or that I never knew of. And probably not the best way, considering the fact that I had to use Google Maps to kind of locate them. And it's kind of weird, you know, it's kind of weird of how the wording is, because if you're not careful, you're just going to find GameStops, which is to be apparent. And then, of course, next to GameStop, Walmart is another one that's labeled underneath there. So, and putting in retro video games doesn't help either, unfortunately. It's kind of a hard realm to look into. So if there's a website that you guys know of where retro game shops label themselves to where people can find them easier and stuff, let me know in the comments below. But for the time being, I decided to look up to see about any particular game shops that either I've never been to or that I've never heard of. And there was quite a bit. Probably a good handful. I decided to explore one side of the map of Tennessee rather than the other side. Technically, I kind of live like in the middle of Tennessee, but not exactly in the middle. I don't know if that explains anything, but I'm in between where Nashville and Knoxville are. That's basically where I'm at. So I decided to kind of see which way to go, and I decided to go to the side near where Nashville is. Basically, I went like a triangle direction. I kid you not, the way I have it mapped up, it was almost a triangle. And it's kind of weird, but it worked out. Especially with the haul that I got. So real quickly, to kind of name off the stores that we went to. We went to two different game traders, which I was very impressed. You know, I've seen a handful of retro game stores from time to time. Some of them are very small in comparison to some of the other ones. Some of them are a little bit bigger. But game traders, I don't know how to explain them. They are literally like the most awesomest retro game store I think I've ever been to. You know, I've seen a lot of them. Some of them have some cool stuff in between, but this one had a lot of cool stuff. I mean, just mountains of like cool memorabilia, a mountain of like different posters that they have above the ceiling and stuff, and just a plethora of games, like unbelievable amounts. From what the dude was telling me with the first game trader we went to, he told me that the game stores themselves, game trader, technically there's two of them, but the building itself has been there for 30 years. They have done business for 30 years, since most of the games that I've gotten were new when they first came out. So 30 years in the business, that's really good when you think about that, you know, to know that a building like that with retro games and stuff has been on around for 30 years, and it's very impressive, and I love that store. So I'm definitely planning on going back sometime within the next year, probably. But not only was there one, there was a second one, and the second one was just as crazy. What got me whenever I looked into them was that I saw the wall of PlayStation 2 games. And when I say a wall, I mean a wall of PlayStation 2 games. And of course, you know me, I'm a big fan of the PlayStation 2. I'm a big collector for the PlayStation 2. So to see this wall of PlayStation 2 games, I was like, that's my target area to go for. But I also wanted to make certain that I find something for Marr. And thankfully there is a wall, I'm going to say that a lot, but a wall of N64 games, along with other Nintendo titles and stuff. So I was mentioning to Delmore, I said, I've got this planned trip for us, and if you're in it, we can do it. And he was like, well, what is it? So I told him about how we was going to go on a retro game treasure hunt, or game hunt, or game shop hopping. I don't know what the phrase is, but we're going to tour around and find game stores we've never been to. And Dale was like, that's awesome, actually. So we went around and stuff, and Game Traders was the two stores we went to first, followed by went to another one known as Play and Trade. And then the last two stops we went into were both technically Game Exchanges, but we've never been into them before. So I figured, you know, I wanted to support the business for the mom and pop retro game shops, followed by the fact that I wanted to explore around to see different areas that I had never really ventured into, you know. Usually, before I started venturing around years ago, mostly the biggest one that I went into was Cookville. Well, unfortunately, Cookville has become less and less desirable when it comes to collecting. It feels like nothing has majorly been founded, you know, ever since Game Haven disappeared on the face of the map, unfortunately. They went out of business a couple of years ago. Game Exchange is the only one in Cookville. So eventually we kind of moved into different areas, such as like Knoxville or Chattanooga and stuff, and we found different stores. Like McKay's Bookstore is an amazing place to go into when it comes to retro game hunting. They have a pretty large amount. They don't only just get games. They also have movies, DVDs, VHSs. They also have records. They have CDs. They have cassettes even. Comic books, different piles of books, puzzles, so on and so forth. So definitely touring around has definitely paid off in the long run when it comes to me and Daniel's collecting hobby. But even more so with the recent trip we went into. So I planned this trip out to go to 5 different game stores. 5 different game stores in one day. And the payoff says itself. So I'm going to show you the plethora that I've attained it. It's going to be a little quick thing, but I will stop for a moment and explain certain games, because there's a lot of them. A lot of them I don't see a lot in other stores. So the reason why I've got the majority of them was probably because I don't see it that often in the locations that I've been to. You know, the most common ones are like Metal Gear Solid, obviously Blood Rain is a very easy one to find, so on and so forth. But we'll start through the list and work our way there. I know technically I don't have the case for this one, but this one is McFarlane's Evil Prophecy. I will eventually get a case for this one, but I decided to look through the pile of disc-only games that they got just to see if there was anything that I hadn't really seen in a while, and this is definitely one that I hadn't seen before. I also have Gungrave Overdose. This is one of 2 of PlayStation 2's Gungrave, and I've seen both gameplays for it, and both of them look really fun. I had never really watched the anime myself, but I definitely want to try getting the games, and out of this trip alone, I got both of them. So this is one of them that I've been wanting to look for, and I finally found it. Also have Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams Collection, which is the second Pinball Hall of Fame game, so definitely look forward to this later on. Heavenly Guardian, I've got that. And then another Workings Design game is Glow Lancer Generations. And then this one I didn't know had a physical release, and that is Grim Fandango Remastered. I did not know it had a physical release. I'm sure some of you probably knew it, but I didn't know it. You know, whenever it first came out, it was only available digitally for the PlayStation 4. For those that don't know, Grim Fandango was originally a PC title back in the early 90s, and a couple of years ago, especially early on in my channel's life, Grim Fandango Remastered got released for the PlayStation 4. and I played it, and I really enjoyed it. But not only that, I thought it was only available digitally. Well, it turns out I was wrong. They did make a physical version of this. And what's even more crazier, okay? I saw this at the Game Trader, and I was like, is that a limited run game only type thing? And he's like, no, this actually came out physically. And I was like, I wish I knew that. But what's even cooler is that it has its own, I guess you could call like a mini collector's edition type thing. Because it's pretty cool looking, what I'm going to say. I don't see it that often. In fact, I haven't seen it at all. So for those that didn't know, you're going to see what it looks like whenever it's open and stuff. So of course this is the regular cover, and then it's reversible, as you can see for yourself. And what's even cooler, I didn't even know it until I started to open it, you know, and take a look at it. But it comes with the golden ticket, technically. For those that don't know, in the game, when you die, technically you get this, or that's the story rather, in the story of the game. People that die, they receive this golden ticket that allows them to pass on to the other side. And so to see that, I was like, that's actually really cool. So it even has the number 6 and everything on it, and it's stylized just like that in the game itself. And I actually liked it, Grim Fandango Remaster. I've been wanting to play it for years, but of course, it being on PC, I wasn't able to get a chance to, but whenever they released it for Remastered, I thought that was really cool. And to get a physical version, that's even better. That was like one of the most eccentric finds ever, because I never seen this. I never knew it came out in physical. So for those that may have had it, when did you find out that it came out physical, or did you already knew that? Because again, I never knew. Now of course with this next batch, I was surprised to see both of them there. It was the other Game Trader that we went to, but I got both Parasite Eve and Parasite Eve 2. Both of these was actually reasonably priced, I thought, you know, both of them for like $35 a piece. And you know, I really liked how they look and stuff. Back whenever I was fiddling around with the PlayStation Classic Edition, the Classic Mini rather, I tried to emulate it, and one of the games I tested out was Parasite Eve 1. And I definitely love how it plays out and stuff, so I thought to myself, definitely want to get it physically. And I saw the second one, and I was like, definitely get both of them. Here is Bound by Flame. I'm about to get that wording messed up for PlayStation 4. Assault Suit Leons, however way you want to pronounce that, but I got that for PS4. I also have Shadow Man Second Coming for PlayStation 2. MDK2 Armageddon for PlayStation 2. Hypersonic Extreme, another little, I guess you could call a space race type game. It's sort of like sort of like that of a clone of a Wipeout game, if you will, but kind of different. Oh boy. Soul Reaver 2, I got that. Makai's Kingdom, haven't seen that one in forever, so I was like, definitely gotta pick that up whenever I can. Now these, I've got a couple of them actually, and not to say that I'm a big fan of boxing, I actually like the boxing video games per se, but this one's Black and Bruised for the PlayStation 2. I've also got another boxing game in here as we get to it. Armored Core 9 Breaker. Kaie Dark Legion, I hope I got that pronounced right. Battle Engine Aquaria, I think it's Aquaria. I'm willing to say that that is wrong. Gradia Extreme, I got that one. And then this is the other boxing game that I mentioned, Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2. Now, this is going to be weird for some people, but I actually liked it, Project Sue, and I played that whenever I was a kid. But I saw that technically the movie had its own video game adaptation, and that is Wallace and Gromit Curse of the Were-Rabbit, the game. And I thought to myself, I was like, if it plays somewhat like that of Project Zoo, I think we're in for a real treat here. And then, of course, in the last set of games, game shops we went into, being that of the two Game Exchange, this one I've been looking for a long time now. And that is the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for PlayStation 2. Here's the interesting thing. This here, along with the GameCube versions, are the more expensive versions of the Sorcerer's Stone. The GameCube, I believe, is like around $60-something, depending on who is selling it at the time. And then the PlayStation 2 is like $40 and up. But I found this one for $19.99, and I thought to myself, I was like, I finally found this. It drove me nuts. Because here's the thing, I've played this technically years ago whenever Amps was still around. I rented this, and I really enjoyed it. This was a really fun adaptation of the movie of the Sorcerer's Stone. I really enjoyed this one. This was really awesome, and I absolutely loved it. But of course, the PlayStation 1 version is the inferior one because of how it looks. But if you're going to get it, you got to get it for the PlayStation 2 or GameCube, because the graphics on them obviously are very well polished, but I wanted to have it on the PlayStation 2, and I'm glad I found this finally. It took me forever, but I found this. This was an awesome find. Samurai 7 20XX. I figured this one looks interesting because of the fact that it's based around the 7 Samurai storyline ideal concept. Technically, there's been a movie called 7 Samurai, and then there's an anime called 7 Samurai. But also, too, apparently there's a game of 7 Samurai. But this is based on some kind of futuristic story, so I'm looking forward to this one whenever I get a chance to. Also have Lupin III, Treasure of the Sorcerer King. By the way, definitely looking forward to the CG movie whenever it finally gets released. That is looking really good. Got Urban Reign for the PlayStation 2. And then, of course, here is the second gun grave that I was telling you about. I finally found both of them. Like I said before, I don't see these out in the wild as much, or I say out in the wild, but I don't see it in retro game stores at all. But to see both of them while I was going out on my trip to the other game stores and stuff, I was very happy to know that I've got both of them, so definitely looking forward to playing them in the future. And real quickly, I want to explain this story before I show you this last game that I got. If you hadn't noticed, and if you haven't, do pay attention. But for some reason, Nintendo Switch games are cheaper at Walmart, of all places. I don't know what it is. Even whenever you go into a retro game store, games like Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Let's Go, Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, so on and so forth, they're still labeled as $59.99 on regular store shelves. Walmart, I don't know how. I would like to know how they were able to do this, but Walmart has struck a deal with Nintendo, and their prices on their games are $49.99. New releases, okay? That's crazy. No other company has done this, because Sony isn't like that, nor is Microsoft. It's Nintendo Switch games only, I've noticed. Keep in mind, I work at Walmart, so of course I would know this, but I just thought it was weird that Walmart's the only one that has them as like the cheapest price so far. So I was kind of like, how did they do that? You know? So I mean, for anyone that don't know, if you're collecting for the Nintendo Switch, the new releases are actually cheaper at Walmart. I'm sure some people may hate Walmart, but if you want to save $10 extra, Walmart's the only place you're going to be able to get that. But this Nintendo Switch title is Breath of the Wild. And, you know, all the other retro game stores, they have it labeled like 55 or 51, something or other. This one was labeled as $43. So I was like, finally found a Nintendo Switch that was cheaper than Walmart's. You know, that was the crazy part for me, because again, like I said, most places label them above $50. Yet Walmart's the only one, brand new, sealed in its case and stuff, $49.99. I don't know how they're doing it, but if anyone has an idea, let me know in the comments below, because I just thought that's weird. But I finally got a Nintendo Switch that's less than $49. This one was $43. So have Breath of the Wild finally. So look forward to that later on. Alright then, guys, that was my major game haul. On a scale of 1 to 10, how was the trip? Definitely a 10. Unfortunately though, because of the rain, it kind of demoted it to a 9, but it was definitely well worth it. I highly recommend you guys, if you never do stuff like this, definitely tour around your local area, you know? Actually, not even just your local area. Sometimes go to like 5 towns down the road or something like that, because you may find out that there's some more stuff that you could find around. Again, like I said, there's nothing in my hometown, but there are plenty of game shops in Tennessee alone. So if I was able to find the haul that I found, and a lot of them I don't normally see, so could you. So this was definitely an awesome trip, and I love it. It was a good trip to go through. I found a lot of good game stores, a lot of great people, so thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.